Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. Bel Garcia is back from her 1-week hiatus, and man, have things hit the fan since then. Why'd you go on vacation? It seems to have just coincidence that everything takes place. No, I'm kidding, obviously. Man, do we have a roller coaster of things to get through? Whether it's the obvious moves of Russell Wilson being traded and Bobby Wagner being cut to the MLB lockout finishing, as well as some new kits being released. The Kraken get an overtime win. Another extension gets signed. It's really an up and down. I mean, there's like, if you take away the major headlines from the first team that we go over, it's a pretty good week.
It was.
It's a pretty good week.
A lot going on.
And then you look at the monumental things that happened on March 8th, and you're like, okay. All right.
It was a crazy week. I know. I think we were messaging every day because there was things going on every day.
So I think with that being said, we should slide right head first into the Seahawks segment. So Bel, we will head right into the thick of things.
Yeah. Of course, as many of you guys probably are aware by now, the Seahawks traded Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos receive Wilson along with a 4th-round pick, and the Seahawks receive quarterback Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick. And of course, there was some reaction from the trade. DK Metcalf said that it hurt. These 2 men have taught him so much, not only about football, but about life. And I can only imagine how they mentored him along the way in his early rookie year and, yeah, just his early years.
Yeah, I mean, DK's been a guy who I know a lot of there. Well, not a lot necessarily, but there are Seahawks fans who are like, oh, he needs to grow up. Oh, I'm tired of his attitude. Yeah. He's a wide receiver. I mean, the whole wide receiver diva stereotype is existing, and I get that, right? I don't think it's that big of an issue. Granted, I mean, if we're going to talk to Bel, there's the Green Bay game where DK got ejected and then tried to get back into the huddle. I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially with the type of playmaker that he is. But yeah, obviously, I mean, he said he got emotional. I mean, 2 guys that were really important to him are gone now. And those are 2 guys that coincidentally were the last pieces of the Super Bowl winning team in 13. Came in the same day on that, I think, day 2 of the draft, and they're gone on the same day.
Yeah.
So just before we get to Bobby itself, and as well as the other news that comes with the Wilson trade, yeah, I mean, if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, hey, this is my quarterback, a guy I've built a really good rapport with. And, you know, working with Bobby Wagner, I mean, even there are photos, and if you watch the Seahawks games, you could see him, you know, interacting with Bobby. Those guys obviously meant a lot to him.
For sure.
So, yes, I mean, it's absolutely makes sense that would be a tough move. But also, if we're just going to look at the Wilson trade, I mean, I will be the first to admit I was wrong, right? I was wrong. I might have gotten bamboozled a little bit because on the 2nd of March, right? The 2nd of March, you know, at the Combine, John Schneider and Pete Carroll said the quarterback is not available. We have no intentions of trading Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson himself. Obviously, this is, you could take it as, oh, the players say anything they want, right? They could be doing things on the side, which it turns out they were. Right. But he's saying, I want to be in Seattle. I love Seattle. I don't plan on going anywhere else. I'm only focused on Seattle. And then we find out with some leaks, which I'll let you get to in a second. But apparently this had been in the works. The guts of this trade have been in the works since January. I don't think that helps a lot with trust in the fan base, right? To be told one thing and then, you know, you go whole 180 and then, you know, it's like, what leadership do I follow here?
Did you not see it happening at all, though? Because I think there were also rumors in previous off seasons that Russell was unhappy. And so,
well, and then the interesting thing, which we'll get to here, I guess his agent drove a lot of that. So much to the fact that general manager John Schneider said, I've had enough of this. Like, he didn't even want to deal with him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the general manager and you get so upset with a player's agent, it's a lot. And from what I understand from the people that I speak with is that a lot of this talk was driven by Mark Rodgers, his agent. It might have been Russell's not going to be the confrontational, hey, come up. Hey, can we talk? I'm not happy with this. I don't think John Schneider was going to pay him the $50 million that Denver will have to pay to extend him. I mean, especially, again, we don't know the details of Rodgers'
Yeah.
deal, but it's Russell Wilson. He's going to want that money. He signed what, a 45 million, 35? You
Yeah,
know,
I think it was
he's
45.
going to want more. He's going to want more. And say he does well in his first year in Denver. He's got some good weapons. And free agency still has yet to come, so he could get more. You don't think he's going to want top of the league money? He's going to want top of the league money, I'm sure. So it's just to address what you're saying about not seeing it. I mean, I think that's why what happened on the 8th, seeing Bobby get cut, hurt me more than Russell, because the seeds had been planted. The proverbial foundation had been laid that, hey, this is a possibility. You got to think about this happening. And so it was already in my head. But because I don't like to come on here like a Stephen A and ramp up some garbage, some rumor, I said, hey, we're going to go off the facts. Did I get comments about it from last week's episode? Because we released last week's episode on Monday, and then on Tuesday the trade happened. So I got the comments. This aged beautifully. I was wrong. You're going to be wrong in this industry. Yeah, it's amazing to see how this all happened. And ultimately, how I've looked at it, in the blog that we posted on Converge's blog site, is that there's two roads you can go down. And these next few days are really going to tell me what I'd hope, unless I go radio silent, what road we're heading down. Rebuild, or are we in quick fix mode? Yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask, is it very much feels like rebuild mode to me?
That's what you'd think, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is Bobby said, through the losses, I want to be here. They said, we don't care.
Yeah. And back in December, I think he made comments about,
he said, I would like to be here, and maybe it was, hey, can you take a pay cut? I don't think he would have said no, but again, we'll probably hear about this in the years to come, because it's always how it happens, right? Like with the Rodgers stuff, I'm sure we'll hear about it in years to come. But at the moment, it's and knowing what we know about him not being alerted about the release, it's not good, because for years it's been people like Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, maybe even Michael Bennett, guys who are veterans. There's this trend of them not having the best exit with the franchise, and that's not good.
Not at all.
You talk about Pete Carroll's culture and wanting to come to Seattle because of that. People are going to see that, how they're treated on the way out. Do I want to go there?
Veer them away.
Yeah. So there's a lot. There's a ripple effect with this trade. So I'll let you get to what followed in that ripple.
Yeah. So just like you said, Pete Carroll's culture, I think this kind of ties in. The reason that Wilson was also unhappy was because of Pete Carroll's old school offensive philosophy. He felt like it was holding him back and damaging his legacy. Carroll wasn't going to abandon the formula Wilson and the Seahawks had used to claim the only Super Bowl title in franchise history. And it was only a matter of time before this marriage ended. So it sounded like Wilson wanted change, and there was no option of that. So,
and I think this is something that, if we talked about that, how Pete Carroll sticks to his guns.
Yes.
And he always, So, hey, if I'm, what did it say? Hurting his legacy?
Yeah.
I don't blame him, right? I mean, we've talked about wanting to, obviously there was a whole let Russ cook thing and all that, and people say, oh, well, this and that. Well, I mean, if you're going to want to throw the ball and you're relying on guys to jam the ball, okay, let me fix that word spaghetti I just dropped everywhere. The NFL changes year by year, and it's the good teams, the best teams adjust. Mm-hmm. Teams for the longest time, I don't want to inflate your ego, but Green Bay is good year in and year out, and they adjust on things.
Yeah.
In any sport, that's how things work. You adjust. Like Seahawks, that formula you talked about that was in that quote there, that bump and run defense does not work anymore, because the NFL caught on and they penalize that now. You got the 5 yards thing, and then you can't, like Richard Sherman and Brandon Brown are incarcerated, but Brandon Brown, you could mess with those guys.
Right.
And they were tough physical guys. They were imposing, a Legion of Boom. That's how that all started.
Yeah.
You can't do that now. because the league adjusted. And Pete Carroll isn't exactly a guy that necessarily adjusts. And he talked about that through several losses last season. That's on me. I got to be better about that. We got to adjust. Why am I hearing that more than 1 or 2 times?
Yeah.
I shouldn't. One game, hey, that's on me. We didn't adjust fast enough.
And that makes it concerning that there's no adjustment. And so
when I
players
hear
want
that
to leave.
in December, September, August, sure, go ahead, right? Beginning of the season, you got some new guys. Maybe you've got, like, what was it, Waldron's first year? Yeah, Waldron's first year, sure, go ahead, fine. Week 12, 13, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, especially in December's where the league, like, it's kind of a trend. Oh, the Seahawks in December, they're winning again. So, yeah, I get it. I get it. And you look at the report that the Seattle was, just tired of all the drama. That goes back to what I said with Schneider. If you're the general manager and it's like you always have to be asked, hey, what do you think about your quarterback in this trade list? Russell seems unhappy. How do you feel about that? What are your comments? You saw on this show, I get sick of it. I got sick of it. And that one, I don't have to hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
And then the comment that he had checked out. I mean, if that's the guy that is wearing the Captain C, it's all golded out, and he's the face of the franchise, and I'm supposed to look up to him, and it seems like he's not even, like, really dedicated.
Yeah.
There's trouble.
Well, and that was kind of surprising to me as well, because of course he was out for several games with the finger injury. So the fact that players felt he was checked out and he didn't even play a full season, that's concerning. And we hope the best for Russell, but just like you said, the exit with players like Bobby Wagner and other veterans, not a good look. So Washington reportedly offered 3 first-round picks for Wilson in the package. Obviously, that didn't get taken up because he went to Denver. And QBs Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis considered top targets at number 9 overall pick. So do you think that we will move forward in the season with Drew Lock, or does this seem like a more viable option here, the number 9 pick?
So I would be that guy who defers and say, again, like what I just said with the week, right? Let's see how the week goes. I've kind of let myself fall into this idea of Malik Willis. I am not the biggest on Kenny Pickett. I don't really.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, I know that I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about how scouts saw this as one of the weakest quarterback drafts in years, right? Because normally, like, through the years, like, what? Oh, is it going to be Winston or who was it in that? Was it Winston or Mariota?
I think it was Winston. Yeah.
Yeah, Winston, Luck, all these other guys who you see as potential top guys. Mac Jones, Justin Fields, right? Jordan Love. There's not that guy this year, but I've kind of fell into the thing of there are reports that have come out that Seattle had reportedly fell in love with one of the quarterbacks at the draft. Let it be Malik Willis.
I thought I saw something about Pete Carroll talking to one of the quarterbacks at the combine too. I can't remember who it was, but that definitely sparked some rumors that ended up being true.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Go back to that. I guess that John Schneider and I forgot his name, but the Denver GM had been talking at the Senior Bowl. So I guess they were fleshing out their deal there. But if we go into the season with Drew Lock, it signals rebuild to me, right? I don't think you look at this guy and you say, hey, we can contend with this guy. It reminds me of the days of Seneca Wallace. There's something just happened right now, so that's why
I saw you a little distracted over there. Yeah.
So we'll get to that in a second. But I would be, if you get Malik Willis and you take him at number 9, I would be okay with it. I think I'd fall to that because obviously scouts, they do this for a living, but just like with the Russell Wilson trade, everybody in this industry is going to be wrong. You're going to be wrong throughout your time here. So maybe they're wrong about these guys, right?
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Kenny Pickett again, but at least for me, if I've got to pick somebody from that list, I'd take Malik Willis from Liberty. Let's run with it.
Okay.
That would be my thing.
And moving on here, like you said, we have released All-Pro linebacker Bobby Wagner. Many hearts broken because I think he was a favorite for a lot of people. And of course, the defensive captain. So that's a leader gone for us, definitely. He will enter free agency, and more than likely due to his cap hit and Seattle wanting to go in a new direction. That's why he was let go. Wagner represented himself and was disappointed in the way that things went. He was not informed by the Seahawks that they were releasing him, so definitely took to social media to express his disappointment in that. And I don't think anyone was happy to hear that, the treatment of him.
No. I mean, it would have been one thing, because I know that it's been talked about, even through the year, right, that Wagner might be a cap casualty because of the contract that he holds and his age. You could ignore the age thing, considering that had he not gotten injured in that play one of that Detroit game, unless like Jordan Brooks got in the way of a bunch of it, probably would have ended the league leader in tackles.
Who did play fill in for Bobby?
It was
when
Brooks.
He was,
I think he stepped
okay.
right into that role, and I think Cody Barton shifted to the outside linebacker spot. But yeah, I mean, again, we talked about it. With the Wilson news, the seeds had been planted. There was that idea. I didn't think that Bobby would go, but that was the move that really said to me, "Hey, you're rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're quick fixing and you've got a quarterback you want to throw in there, why would you not keep a Bobby Wagner who would then take over the full face of the franchise role, right? And it's gonna suck to see whatever franchise he goes to, whatever jersey he puts on.
Yeah,
and I really hope it's not one of the teams that we've got on there.
Because
go somewhere in the AFC. Just go. I'd get a Wagner jersey.
Division rivals here expected to have interest. So there are a few NFC West teams eyeing Wagner. The 49ers, the Rams, the Cardinals are all expected to have interest.
Vultures.
And the Cowboys are also eyeing Wagner. So Dallas has contacted him about reuniting with his old defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. We're not happy seeing him on any team. So, no. But we wish him the best. On March 12th, Seattle tendered OG Phil Haynes. Haynes started 2 games last season, will receive an original round RFA tender that is worth $2.54 million. Gonna ask you to elaborate a little bit more here because I'm not exactly sure what that means for him.
It's like it's just like a type of contract, the tender, because he was already a restricted free agent.
Okay.
And so whatever, it says original round draft, right? So whatever round he was drafted in, like the earlier rounds, you're going to get more money, right? So in the later rounds, you're going to get less.
Right.
So it's going to be that. What was it? Was it $2.54 million?
Yes.
Wow, look at that. I remembered something. It's just equivalent to the round that he was drafted in, and it's basically like a baseline deal for what it's like a template for those rounds, and that's just like what he would have earned from that. And I doubt he declines it because Phil Haynes is a guy to me that I wanted to see. He got some play at center last offseason, and because of the fact that I'm not really on a lot of the centers that have been on this roster, I would have been happy with that move being made. Because I thought he should, like, the game that he really showed me something was that game against Green Bay where where Jimmy Graham got the first down and the Griffin twins sacked Rodgers. He had a really good game that game, and I thought, hey, maybe this is going to be a breakout guy. He just hasn't stayed healthy, which
is too bad.
So it's kind of like a, hey man, we're just going to give you this baseline contract, take it. If you can stay healthy, Seattle could hit a home run on this.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Cool.
But yeah, I think the most important thing is, I think we'll take a moment to look at Bobby's stats here. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
6-time first team All-Pro, 2-time second team All-Pro, 2-time NFL tackles leader. And I think one of the biggest things too, obviously we have to acknowledge that Russell spent a lot of time, with Seattle Children's, spent a lot. I mean, he's a co-owner, he's a part owner of the Sounders. But Bobby Wagner, too, is a guy that, from a lot of people that I know personally, spent time in the community and really invested his time and was just a really solid dude.
Yeah.
So you're not only losing the football aspect of it, but also guys that were involved in your communities and really like got their hands, and just kind of put themselves out there. So that's going to suck as well. Obviously there will be guys who I'm sure will pick up those mantles in ways. But obviously those two left marks that are, go stretch past the football field. So I guess we'll put that to rest. But yeah, that does, it's not fun.
Not at all. A lot of unhappy fans. Seattle has also now extended Quandre Diggs. He gets a 3-year extension worth $40 million, as well as giving a few other players extensions. Sidney Jones, Al Woods, and Disley all have received extensions or are going to receive extensions. How does that?
Well, it's funny with today because when we get to looking ahead, the NFL league year does not start till the 16th. So and you've already, if you follow the NFL, you know that guys like Christian Kirk have signed with the Jaguars. With Bell's Packers, Devondre Campbell has signed a deal to stay with the Packers. It's kind of like a formality. It's like, okay, I think this is team just getting ahead of it, right? We want to keep our guys. This is like preliminary, right? We're going to get this implant, talk to our guys. This is the period where you can talk to your guys. Say, hey, do you want to come back? And I think with all three of those, for Quandre Diggs was the biggest variable to me. Is like, hey, Russell's gone. Do you want to stay? Like, how do you feel about that? You didn't want it to be like an Earl Thomas situation where you're playing on a contract year, you break your leg, flip off Pete Carroll, and you're gone. So I think it's all just like these will all go into effect officially on the 16th. So like the tweets will come out, we'll read about it from the sources and their agents, but the Seahawks will not tweet about it and make it official until I think that's Wednesday. The 16th, yeah. So that won't go into effect officially then. But these are, it's unless something bad happens, these won't like change.
So I wondered that. It's kind of like a commitment, it sounds like, that you're making to the team. But are you still able to hear what others have to offer in case they do reach out?
I think you technically can. But you've already signed it. So it's like commitments and for college, like I think this is a written commitment, right? So my name is in ink. It hasn't dried yet. And so I've seen it where actually, let me tear this up. We're going to change that. But I think it's really unlikely that happens.
Okay. And that's pretty much it for our team news before we move on to our free agency segment here. But I wanted to follow up with you because you got some busy fingers over there. So any updates that you need to give us? We will hit on that in the Mariners section. Oh, okay. We actually have something there. That's exciting. Which I did not expect to happen, but it's happening. In a good way. Yes. Okay. All right.